Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back to the EA Sports F1 Creator Series. We are back for yet another round, what I'm sure will be an intense battle on the road to the title. Of course, we've got many protagonists that are going to be looking to take that spot at the end of the season, but we've still got a fair ways to go. George Morgan back in the commentary box and back alongside me as well. I mean, he's taking a bit of a break, but it's always great to see the great Tom Wilkinson back. Tom, how are you, sir?
Oh, thank you very much. I'm blushing after that. Looking forward to this. We've got a nice little switch up of the format. First sprint race we've had in a little while. And the wild card, I have to say, is an absolute banger. I'm looking forward to seeing how this dynamic plays out.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, powered by EA Sports F1 and, of course, our good partners at IMB Raceware. Be sure to check them out as well. We have got the Chinese Grand Prix here tonight, everybody. And as Tom did mention, we've got a sprint race to kick things off. And then after that, a short qualifying session to tee up what will be an astounding race. And obviously looking ahead to this before the short quali, the sprint race itself, a reverse championship order grid, which should add some spice there, Tom.
Indeed. We've had a few of them before, notably back on F1 23, where the format was we had a reverse championship sprint race before we went into qualifying and the main race. So it is a familiar format, we just haven't seen it for quite a while. The likes of Tim at Marduk, Formula Cream, GB68, those guys that will be starting towards the very back, very, very adept at making their way through the field. They've had a lot of experience doing it in the past. It'll be interesting to see how they manage it when some of the newer faces we've got towards the front are going to be battling very, very hard, but I think they should come through unscathed. We'd like to think at least as well.
Yeah, and obviously it's great to see you and everybody tuned in across the globe, wherever you are in the world. We're live on 3 platforms tonight, that of course being Twitch, YouTube, and of course TikTok for the first time ever. And I think it's only right we bring this man in. How about you, TK? Welcome to the broadcast once more. Always a pleasure to be in the presence of the one, the only Tom Knight. What are you expecting from this showcase we have this evening? Because I'm sure there's going to be lots of drama.
I think tonight's going to be a tale of two halves. You've got the sprint race where there's going to be so much action, carnage, chaos. You know, you're going to have drivers really wanting to get those extra points. The grid's maybe a little bit shuffled as well, of course, going off reverse championship order, the likes of Tom starting considerably higher than some of the other championship protagonists. And then we head to the main race. That wild card that's coming into play is going to be a completely different kettle of fish. It goes to strategy, it goes to how well can they maintain their car in this environment.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very tough. Obviously, the minimum fuel is going to be something that the drivers will all have to manage, but it's going to be extraordinary. Any minute now, we are going to be heading across to the starting grid ahead of this sprint race. Take us through it, Tom.
Well, on the very back row, we're going to have one very familiar face and one slightly new face. Tim and Marduk from 19th and SS Blue Fox making their debut in the Creator Series, starting from position 20 out of 20. Just ahead of them, 2 more familiar faces, both gunning for the championship. GB68 coming of age. Formula Kareem was very competitive here last season. Didn't quite get the result he was after. This is arguably his best track, though. Alex Gillen returns, P15. Meraki alongside him, season 4 champion. Both have decent records around this circuit. Alex Gillen winning here back in season number 1. Razin Chai, difficult few weeks, hasn't really managed to capitalise on a solid little start. Lolanoba coming into form very, very nicely, picking up a first win in the Creator Series a few weeks ago as well. Riccio 3 consistent as ever, and Formula Kai's probably been the star of the last few weeks of exceptional performances, missing out on a victory a couple of weeks ago in Silverstone into the top 10. The coolest man in the Creator Series, the Season 1 champion, Safso just inside, alongside Infratic, who's had a decent couple of races in the last few weeks. And then it is the second McLaren of Nick Flies up in 8th place, and Tom, probably the favourite going into this, starting very far forward, former champion in that beautiful brand new sim rig that he has got set up. Scott Taylor qualified 6th here last time out in season number 8, starting from 6th in this sprint race. F1 Alex hasn't quite had the season he would have liked. Big opportunity for some good points in that kick. Sauber. And then we come into the reservists. First of all, it is Cutter Lucas and then Blackmere, 2 Mercedes engine counterparts, starting from 4th and 3rd. And on the front row, this is going to be a generational lineup. It is Mr. Dale, the legend of the Creator Series, and Matty D13 returning, driving for Williams on this occasion.
That's brilliant. Thank you ever so much there, Tom. Obviously, a very feisty grid indeed. Great to see Matty D13 back, and this time on the front row. And welcome was also to SS Blue Fox for joining us well and truly out of the blue after we said goodbye to Noiguera very late in the day. Obviously, we've got a few changes to look at across this evening. Blackmere stepping in for Dat Guy Vince, so changes at Aston Martin here tonight. Obviously, we alluded to Matty D stepping in for Hayden Gullis as well. Adam Sanderson out, Cutter Lucas coming in. That's going to be interested to see how he works with Tiamat Marduk, of course, championship leader as well. Plenty of, things to look at. Of course, Noiguera missing tonight is quite key because he was a pole sitter here, only going back as far as season 6, the year that Tiamat Marduk actually went on to win the title. And of course, GB68 a pole sitter last time out. Of course, we've got the lights now going green ahead of the formation lap. But yeah, we could see once again the trend continue of new race winners around this track, Tom. It seems like it's going to be one of those circuits.
100%. Big opportunity for somebody. Only one previous winner currently on the circuit, and that is Alex Gillen starting down in 15th. A couple of disqualifications straight away. GB and Tiamat Marduk, I don't actually think got off the grid. One of them entering the rear diffuse of the other, probably the Mercedes into the Aston Martin. We've lost Matty D13 starting from pole. We've also lost F1 Alex. Tom Bean thinking that he should have been 4th. He's a little bit upset about that, but we maybe have to just bring him back to the pack a little bit, courtesy of that pace. You can see there the tyre graphic as well. Everybody on the yellow striped medium compound.
Yeah, no surprise. Obviously, a very, very short race that we're going to be undertaking prior to then going into quali. But these sprint races could mean everything in terms of points. Last time we had a sprint race around this circuit, it was back in season 6 as well. And the winner was Unstopped Rob. Of course, not featuring on this grid today, so we will get a new sprint race winner. Let us know in the live chats who you think's going to take it. Obviously, Matty D13 has form. One of the big players in terms of sprint race victories in the past. Historically, has 2 against his name, much like Mr. Dale on the front row. So you've got 2 very decent drivers in the sprint race affair. So we'll see how they get on. Maybe they can take it from lights to flag, and that's exactly what they're going to need to do in order to be in with a chance of winning this one. But there's plenty of other names. Obviously, Tom being one of those favourites, as you so rightly said, Tom. Obviously, coming into that new rig, has had to take some time, obviously, just to adapt to it. But I must say, on his return, his performance wasn't too bad at all.
Well, I would go as far as to say it was exceptional, considering he's been out of the game for quite a while. To come in there, be fighting it right with the big boys, had a lovely little battle with Tiamat Marduk, I think it was. He's done very, very well. I would also look out for Scott Taylor, has a decent record on this track. Featured back in season 8 the last time we raced here, qualified in P6, didn't have a great race but was caught out a little bit by the weather. Big opportunity because it hasn't been a great couple of weeks for Scott in the Creator Series.
Yeah, for those of you in the chat wondering what the wild card is for, it's only for the main race. It's not going to be utilised in the sprint, and neither will it be used in qualifying, of course. It's all about the main feature race as the drivers now line up onto the grid. Matty D13 on the left, you've got Dale on the right, and we're currently sat on board with Blackmere as the lights go red, they go out, and it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Great start for Mr. Dale. He got the jump on Matty D13 straight away, heading in towards turn 1, and it's Dale who now leads the way. Cutter Lucas of the inside, or shall I say, yes, of the inside indeed, moves into second, and Matty D has plummeted. He's fallen behind Nick Flies at the Papaya McLaren, and round his outside Scott Taylor. The Scot is on the move, but he's onto the grass. My goodness, ran out wide. Matty having a very difficult start to this race. Ricky 03 right up in the mix as well. Infratic trying to gain some places. Racing Chai now enters the top 10, but it's Mr. Dale out in front, and Cutter Lucas now losing out to Nick Flies with a lovely move up the inside as they make their way out of turn 7.
Beautiful move, have to be said, but just coming back in, it is now Tom trying to pick up a place, get up onto the podium. Excellent start for the former champion. Cutter Lucas leaking a couple of spots there as the Aston Martin of Blackmere says, I want a piece of the action. I tell you what, we're going to be 3 wide down to the braking zone of turn number 11. Infratic, ever the maverick of the Creator Series. Blackmere backing out. Is Cutter Lucas for the time being holding on? As I say that, enormous slide coming out of 13. It was certainly unlucky for him, and Infratic is going to cruise straight around the outside.
Yeah, very nice early start from Nick Flies. Mr. Dale trying to consolidate this lead place. Remember, starting on the front row, but Flies is going to demote him. He's going to drop, or at least try to drop Mr. Dale like a fly, heading down in towards turn 16 as they now fly down towards this long straight. Well, they're coming out of turn 14, 15 and 16 is still to come. Yellow flag around the hairpin as Flies takes the lead. Has only registered so far this season 5 top 10s, has not been featured at all in any sprint race victories. Today could be his first, and now 2 tenths ahead. Is dropping down to a 10th now as Dale looks to fight back. Zaps around the outside now as he looks to try and beat past Cutter Lucas, who is now down into 7th place, and Fabio is next on PS1 Hagrid's list.
Well, we've got to talk about Razin Chai, up into 4th place after starting down in 14th. Incredible first lap for the Season 5 champion, and Tom will be sweating a little bit as he pushes Nick Flies down into 3rd place. That Papaya McLaren saw a potential opportunity to pick up a headline result, but losing out to Dale and losing out to Tom in the last couple of corners. Watch out in the battle for 8th and 9th as well. Former sparring partners with Alex Gillen and Tim McMardock line astern.
You're absolutely right about Razin Chai, up 10 places. Remember, starting 14th on the grid, and he's already risen up, and he's not alone. Many others also making moves. Zafso started 10th, he's now up into P6. And we've got Tiamat Marduk, who started in 19th spot. He is now up to 9th in this top 10 as well. Plenty of other moves happening around this track. We got Lolinoba also doing battle with Blackmere, and he's managed to peek into P12. And we got 2 drivers right at the front as Tom challenges for the lead as he looks to try and break down Mr. Dale. Nick Flies also staying within the aero. We'll also have the use of DRS as they fly down towards the hairpin. Tom takes the lead for now, but I tell you what, there's a queue of cars in behind that are looking to take him down a peg or two. But the new simulator working for Tom Biener as he now leads the way here in the sprint. They're about to bring an end to lap 2, heading in towards lap 3. DRS will be available. Nick Flies will have a chance to respond.
Well, Tommy hasn't been in this position for quite some time, but if there is one thing that a great driver doesn't forget, it is how to win a Grand Prix. Nick Flies, does he think about a move up the inside? Tom does go slightly defensive. I think Nick Flies was probably quite happy just to sit in behind the Alpine. Currently sat in a sandwich between the Renault-powered cars. Swinging it around the outside is Razin Chai, going from the outside to the inside, smelling an opportunity to make it an Endstone 1-2. Doesn't quite have the traction on the exit, but with that inside line, it's going to continue to stay neck and neck. Alpine versus Papaya McLaren. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? Down into turn number 6. And McLaren in the sprint race this morning came a crop here. Lando Norris running slightly wide, leaking loads of places. The Papaya McLaren of Nick Flies doing the same, but only 1 to the Alpine.
Yeah, Razin Chai now up into 2nd. A big smile, I'm sure, will be on the face of Flavio Briatore if they saw this in real life, heading around this Chinese circuit. Right on board with championship leader Tiamat Marduk, whose only interest really is to ensure that he finishes at this point ahead of Formula Karim. Of course, Karim has been on mighty form so far this season, has won the last 2 races back at Britain and Austria sequentially, and even prior to that, winning at Texas in the very first round of the championship. Or should I say, taking pole in the first round of the championship. He didn't win at Britain, though. Tiamat Marduk did take that one. I'm talking about pole positions here at this case. But in terms of previous race wins, Karim, last time out, a race winner at Austria, though Tiamat Marduk did beat him to the punch back at Britain 2 rounds ago. As we now watch them sprint down through towards the hairpin, in towards turn 14, and now late on the brakes. Tiamat Marduk, yellow flag again. Oh, big spin. And is that Mr. Dale? I think it might be. Dropping down Meraki also. It looks like Dale's dropped down to 19th as well. So colossal for the Red Bull team. Meraki into 10th. Dale now down in 19th place, and movements right at the front as well as Tom looks to defend that race lead with Razin Chai in 2nd. Nick Flies, credit to him, still very much in the fight, and Infratic also in this as we now watch Formula Karim dice it out with Meraki coming out of turn 1 through towards turn 2. Inside line will favour Karim coming in towards turn 3. Smoke coming off the tyres now as they squeeze the throttle, feather that throttle, and Karim in the McLaren now moves into P10 just behind Formula Kai as they now stretch down towards turn 4. Late on the brakes, once more Formula Karim takes down Formula Kai. What a first sector for the McLaren.
Well, it was a little bit of a slow start to the sprint for Karim, but now making his opportunities come to fruition. He's up into 9th place, and very shortly I think he's going to be getting past Lolinoba, who is detached from that group in front. Alex Gillen was definitely involved in that little skirmish with Mr. Dale going down into turn 14. He was trying to get past the Red Bull, and I do wonder if there was a little bit of contact. Tim Marduk saying thank you very much, snapping up a free position for his troubles as well. Meraki just falling out of the top 10. Scott Taylor picking up the first penalty of this race, although I think he picked up some front wing damage early on and finds himself 53 seconds off the back of the snake.
Yeah, Formula Karim looking to capitalise now at this very moment. Might get another chance here to gain another place. He's going to be met with Lolinoba. These two had fireworks back at Miami not too long ago. They battled each other across the line, and Karim clears him even before the hairpin. And now up into 8th place. He's got 1.9 seconds to find now in order to close up to the back of Alex Gillen, who's also quietly crept his way further into this top 10. Just to clarify some comments I made earlier on about previous race results. Obviously, Karim did win last time out at Australia. It was Tiamat Marduk who won at Britain, despite Formula Karim taking pole on that occasion. Tiamat Marduk also winning at Texas in the opening round after Karim achieved pole for that race too. Up the inside again, Karim. This time on Lolinoba. Lolinoba trying to take the place back that he lost not too long ago. Zafso now under pressure. He's got Tiamat Marduk on his tail as Tiamat Marduk sweeps around the outside. Very late on the brakes. Very nearly got collected by Infratic. That was a scary moment. Zafso had a clearer run coming out of this and now has the advantage. Outside line here for Zapso. But obviously this line will favour Benjamin Daly as they head through in towards the next right. This favours Zapso, but now the heavy braking zone comes up, heading down in towards turn 10. Wheel to wheel between the RB and the Mercedes, and it's Tim Emarduk who puts a nose cone and a whole car back in front, and Zapso can't reply as they now head down into the next left, and Benjamin Daly has wing damage.
Oh, not good news at all, as I think F1 Alex goes for a little bit of a spin in the middle sector as well. Ben, with that wing damage, we saw it didn't really compromise him back in Kota round number 1. He's battled past one of his former teammates. He's now going to do the same to Infratic in the Scarlet Red Ferrari car. Tom has done an excellent job to hold on to the lead since he took it at the end of lap number 1. Is he going to stay down into the braking zone of 14? Tim Emarduk moving to the middle of the circuit, potentially thought about a sniff of getting 4th place away from Infratic, but holding firm in that 5th spot for the time being. He's got Alex Gillen to deal with, though, directly behind him. Have to commend Nick Flies as well in that Papaya McLaren. We're used to seeing Formula Kareem putting in some barnstorming results, but it is the second driver still holding on to that 3rd position. I think he's going to be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, I must say it's getting really close up at the top end. Now you've got pretty much the top 7 that are all in this fight over the sprint lead, and Tom is taking them around right now. It's an Enstone double act, though, up at the very top with Tom and Rastin Chai holding all the cards. Nick Flies having the race of his life, though, in 3rd place. Could be some huge points going his way should he take this to the flag. But he has got Fabio. He has got Fabio there further up, who's going to try and muscle in past the Woking car, and it looks like the team from Maranello are going to celebrate. The Scarlet Red Ferrari belonging to Infratic up into 3rd, and Tim Emarduk following him through as well. And what a moment this is, because you got the trio from the final round in Season 6 that led to Tim Emarduk winning the title. Remember, Fabio was his teammate that season. Who stood in for Fabio? It was Nick Flies, and he, of course, led to the safety car right at the end of the race, which actually ended up leading Tim Emarduk to victory towards chasing that Season 6 title. What a moment here on lap 6. Fabio into 3rd, but Benjamin Daly smelling an opportunity, even despite the wing damage. This has been a tenacious rise, and Alex Gillen also coming into this. We've got a yellow flag and a retirement, our first of this sprint. F1 Alex is out.
Oh, and Nick Flies under pressure again. He hasn't troubled a lot of apexes since Infratic and Tim Emarduk filed past the Papaya McLaren. Holding firm for the time being, Alex Gillen is not going to risk it around the outside of the final corner. I would say that would be an unwise decision, it has to be said. And filling those spots just outside of the top 4, the 2 McLarens and the 2 RB cars. There's everybody darting this way, and that Razin tried to take the lead away from Tom, but he was unsuccessful in his attempts to do so. Alex Gillen now slightly missing the apex. He has managed to get ahead of Nick Flies, but there was a small chance that Nick Flies could just try and get back up the inside as Dale started on the front row, becomes the 2nd retiree in this race, and we are down to 18 runners with 4 to go.
Yeah, obviously Dale had some very early issues that caused him to drop from the very front right to the rear. Has been a tricky race for Red Bull because Meraki sits in 11th, just outside of the top 10, and still hunting down after Formula Kai. And Kai has got a 2.5 second gap between himself and Olenova as well. This fight right at the front is basically encompassing the top 9 in this classification, so it could still very much go anywhere, and we have just around 3 laps or so to go before we reach the checkered flag. And on the track map just at the bottom, you can see Scott Taylor still making his way around the track, but he's got a 3-second time penalty against his name and is around 48 to 49 seconds detached away from the back of Cutter Lucas in 17th, as we now watch as Rastin Chai pirouettes coming around turn 13. Now the long straight to come, rear wing will open now very shortly. The 2 Enstone should swap as they now stretch down through towards turn 14. Rastin Chai takes the lead over further back. Infratic as well, chasing a huge result here in this sprint, but Tim Emarduk is going to try and silence him on the escape of coming out of turn 14. We got wheel to wheel between Formula Karim and Sapso as they now looked around turn 16 to begin lap 8 of 10. And as they make their way up towards turn 1, it is still Rastin Chai. Back comes Tom. Tim Emarduk looking to break the trend of Enstone cars right at the front, and Alex Gillen around the outside of Fabio as well as they come in towards turn 1, and it looks like Fabio just about can hold on, but Alex Gillen is going to look to try and chop down the inside coming out of turn 3 in an effort to try and put the Italian team down, but Fabio defiant. Stellar defence from the Portuguese, and he retains P4.
Gillen desperate to try and shuffle the pack out in front. It's the Alpine dominance at the moment. It could pour fans if it stays this way. Razin Chai bided his time. He was very happy just to sit behind Tom for the opening 7 laps of this race, but finally electing to take the lead with 3 to go. Maybe that's tactical, wanting to be in second place coming on to the last lap of the race. He'll let Tom fly straight back past him. I think Tim McMarnock will probably have something to say about that. I just had a look at his front wing coming round the final corner. No real cosmetic damage, so it must be just that very slight lime green colour that we get a tiny bit of damage. Doesn't affect you too much, but you can continue on your merry way. Fratic losing a little bit of time, half a second now the gap between himself and his former Ferrari teammate Alex Gillen, all over the back of him coming out of 13.
Yeah, definitely nothing wrong with Benjamin Daly's pace. He's got the fastest lap so far of this race, and not only that, he's faster than both Razin Chai and Tom right in front of him. And as the 2 Enstone cars swap once more, it's Tom who now retakes the race lead. And now we venture around the final corners. We've got the penultimate lap of this sprint coming right up. And Tim McMarnock being afforded the opportunity to conserve whatever wear he can of his tyres. Running wide, Fabio, as now he opens up the rear wing again, and I'm sure that will open up doors here for Alex Gillen to make the move into turn 1. Razin Chai takes that sprint lead as he now creep down through towards turn 2, and an opening here for Tim McMarnock, who tries to squeeze down the inside coming out of turn 2, and Alex Gillen up the inside of Infratic further back as well, battling over that 4th place, and Gillen in the RB. The Faenza team move up into 4th and stretch past their Italian and Maranello counterparts. It is Alex Gillen up into 4th, and Karim now looking to enter this big, bold top 5 fight.
Oh, Karim very slyly made his way through in the last couple of laps. We haven't really spoken about it, but as he swoops around the outside of Infratic to complete the move with a lap and a half to go, he is inside the top 5, and do not discount Formula Karim from ending up on the podium in about 2 minutes' time. It's still Razin Chai leading the way, half a second the gap between himself and his Alpine teammate, Tim McMarnock. You just saw there was only a gap for a Mercedes F1 car at the inside of Tom into turn number 1, and Tim McMarnock, as he always does, thinking, I can definitely get my car in that gap. Tried it, couldn't quite make it work, but laying his cards firmly on the table is the Australian ace.
Yep, twice a race winner this season. Took his first victory back in Texas in the very first round after silencing a pole sitter in Formula Karim. He then went and took victory back at Britain not too long ago, as now we see 3 wide almost. We've got Tom in front by a nose, but here comes Benjamin Daly. Contact there around turn 14, but Benjamin Daly takes the sprint race lead now, and it's all been turned upside down because Alex Gillen, he was there and he took second. So now we meet the 2 rivals once more, battling over higher end supremacy. This is the final lap. It could all twist and turn from here, and through goes Formula Karim, who looks to move in a second as they come in towards turn 3. Gillen trying to defend relentlessly, but the Papaya McLaren will have the momentum on the run down towards turn 4. Benjamin Daly might have it for now, but here comes Alex Gillen around the outside now, coming through towards the 90-degree right. They'll run wheel to wheel on the escape, but Ben still somehow retains that race lead, but it can all be turned over coming around turn 7.
Oh, throw a blanket over this top 3, pushing each other through the sweeps of the middle sector. Tom is right in there as well. Tim McMarnock playing some DRS games, definitely there. There's the Alpine back up the inside of Formula Karim. Razin Chai maybe trying to follow suit as well, not quite close enough. And Tim McMarnock, I think, has played an absolute blinder here, dropping back behind Alex Gillen, jinking all over the place behind. Tom launches it up the inside of his former championship rival. Karim getting muscled out by a couple of them. Contact at the back. What a disastrous 90 seconds or so for Razin Chai. Was leading the race, now finds himself down in 8th. Contact between himself and Nick Flies.
A possible welcome return for Tom as well. They've caught up with Scott Taylor for the back, who is still nursing that 3-second time penalty. Here comes Tom now, looking to retake the lead to at least give Enstone something. And Tim McMarnock looking to follow in through to once again battling it out with arch rival Alex Gillen. Also Formula Karim coming into this as well. But Tom, on his return to the Creator Series, a sprint race win looks surely on the cards. The Alpine succeeds and wins here at China. Tim McMarnock finishes second, Alex Gillen in third, fellow title rival Formula Karim in fourth, and Lolinobo finishing in fifth. Blackmere just coming around the final corners as well. He'll come 15th, with Blue Fox on his debut coming into the Creator Series, meeting the sprint for the very first time, coming across the line in 16th. And Cutter Lucas, after his early issues, he'll finish in 17th ahead of Scott Taylor. But my goodness me, what a barnstormer, Tom.
What a finish! Top gun from Tom Biener there. We thought the Alpines had messed it up. Tim McMahon took both of them on and came out trumps there, but Tom didn't lose his head, saw a very opportunistic opportunity to get up the inside of Tim McMahon into 11, and that really put the reigning champion and championship leader off, meant he wasn't in the position he wanted to be coming down that main straight, and it all comes up Dutch in China. Tom taking the first win of the day. Alex Gillen was in the wrong place at the wrong time, just dropping down to third. Formula Cream was very lucky actually that he finished fourth, because I don't know if you spotted it, but went way wide going through the final corner. If Lola Noble was a little bit closer, that could have been fifth rather than fourth.
It certainly could have been. It was very, very tight, very messy. It all caught up heading in towards turn 11. But it's Tom who takes victory, and that's his first ever sprint race win in the EA Sports F1 Creator Series. And what a victory it is too. A welcome return here to the championship. Scott Taylor takes us round the final portion of the circuit, cross the line now, and finishes 18th on this classification. Of course, we've had two retirements already. We lost Mr. Dale, of course. F1 Alex was retired as well very early on in the race too. But a wonderful result going Tom's way, and it looks strong for Alpine. Let's take you through the results. Tom was your sprint race winner. Tim Marek finishing in second place. Alex Gillen in third. Formula Karim in fourth. Lolin Ober in fifth. Infratic in sixth. Rasin Chai finishing in seventh. Nick Flies in eighth place. We've got Zaf down in ninth. Formula Kai in 10th place. Meraki in 11th. GB in 12th place. Ricky 03 in 13th. Matty D13 in 14th. Blackmere in 15th, Blue Fox in 16th, Live Catalucas down in 17th, Scott Taylor 18th, and we lost Mr. Dale and F1 Alex. And in the meantime, we can head across to TK, who I'm sure has something to digest for us.
Well, something to talk about a fair few things. What a race, what a sprint race that was for a lot of our drivers. First of all, we're going to throw it back to the race start. If you can remember that far back, starting off, as I pressed the wrong key there, with F1 Alex, he got a little bit bogged down off that race start, immediately found himself about 2 or 3 wide in towards the first corner, and I think he had to back himself out in risk of getting caught up amongst drivers just in front of him. Matty D as well, suffering a very similar fate. Of course, starting from pole position, he tried to pull away, and again, just the car bogging down. It was Dale with a fantastic launch into the first corner, led from that point. But the thing I want to try and break down here, Dale goes wide. Matty just finds himself caught up in amongst the 2 or 3 drivers here. A little bit of a tap with Nick Flies. He's got Scott Taylor and Tom as well just behind him. And watch the exit out of this corner. Find himself with a tap off towards the grass and gravel. He does go. F1 Scott next to go through. Of course, starting just behind our pole sitters. He got himself some early on wing damage. I think Matty D could have been involved in that as well. You see all the carnage heading through the first and second corners, and the car unfortunately just jumps around a little bit too much. Front wing damage ensues for F1 Scott, and that's why he dropped so far back off the pace. See him just dropping off there onto the grass and the gravel, and I think it's just a couple of moments later that he doesn't get that wing damage into the next braking zone. You'll see it here later the brakes. Cars come together, and that's a fair bit of wing damage for Scott. Next up, we got Ben with the wing damage. It was only minor, a little bit of a tap with Infratic. You see him go wide in towards the corner. He then slams on the brakes trying to get the car stopped and just pops up. Nothing too major. He won't be too concerned about that. F1 Alex, penultimately going up. It was a bit of a weird DNF here. Unfortunately, just found himself in the barrier there. I think just losing control of the car. And you can see head in the hands moment. Maybe after too much racing for himself today. Dale, very similar fate as well. Final corner for himself. Gets the car unsettled. Happens so often here at China. Rear end just steps out. And there we go. That is the car off and, well, missing a wheel as well, unfortunately. He doesn't look too pleased. And then finally, who could talk about this race without talking about the win for Tom Biener? Nice, easy overtake in towards the braking zone. DRS tried and was tested. Alex Gillen thought about a move. You see temporary red arrows just at the bottom right-hand side. But alas, couldn't quite challenge Tom. Had the grip out the penultimate corner and went on to win the race.
Spectacular, Tom. Thank you so... Oh, should I say TK? I call you Tom. I just call you TK. Thank you so much for TK for that. Much appreciated. I mean, obviously, fantastic result for Tom on his return. And we'll speak to another Tom now, Tom Wilkinson. Obviously, after Tom's truly phenomenal race victory, should I say sprint race victory, I mean, that is a welcome way to return. He's been away for a while. Came back for that one-off appearance around Miami. And, of course, in between, had some things to do. Obviously, some work had to be carried out on his premises. He's actually put reaction lights into his sim room now as well. Do you think all this is playing a part, Tom, in a sense that he's able to extract a little bit more out of the car?
I think so, and I think it's motivated him as well. Did you see his reaction as he came over the line, pumping the air? He absolutely loved it. I think we had a counter. Obviously, it's not an official win. It's only a sprint win, but we definitely have had a counter of how many days it's been since Tom last won in the Creator Series. I think it is over 500 potentially. It's been quite a long time. So to get back onto the top step, I think he'll be delighted. His racecraft, I think, barring that little skirmish between himself, his teammate Razin, and Ben on the penultimate lap, I think it was 100% on. Absolutely perfect from himself. Obviously, managed to get the win on the last lap, so probably explains that, and that will give him a lot of confidence, and probably us a lot of confidence that he could be right at the sharp end in this race.
He definitely could, and also Tiamat Malik, big result for him as well, finishing in second. It could have been a win, but what he's done in this instance, he's pushed the points gap now out to 16 in between himself and Formula Karim as well, which is all the more vital. He said before we got into racing action that all he wanted to do was beat Karim, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, very smart racer, Ben. We know he's a very smart racer. He thinks a lot about the championship. He knows he's got a decent cushion over the group behind. He also is very aware that this is a very strong track for Formula Cream. So target acquired and did a very, very good job. Could have won the race, but I don't think that'll dampen his spirits at all.
And obviously looking back, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we've got Tom waiting to come in for an interview. Just the man we wanted to speak to. Tom, welcome back to the Creator Series again. You had a little break after your last appearance, but back in the rig once more. The motion rig seems to be working for you because that's a first ever sprint race victory in the Creator Series.
We are so back, George. So back.
He's back, everyone. Tom is back.
Come
and in
on
great
now.
style. What a result. I mean, I have to say, I thought both you and Razin played it perfectly right to the start. It was a well-managed race, but obviously it was inevitable to see various other drivers eventually come in and join the fight. But, you know, it took some beating to keep the likes of Benjamin Daly, and not only that, Formula Karim coming in. They are our current championship leaders after all. So you must be filled with confidence after that.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say I'm like confident right now. You know me, George. I'm always a confident man.
I know you, Tom.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm more confident after that. That was a bit slow, not gonna lie. I've got most of that to thank to my teammate Racing, because if it wasn't for him, I think we played it very, very smart. He was behind of me. At some point, we started swapping to kind of try and drive away, but I wasn't quick enough to kind of actually do that. But he was kind of, you know, backing them up. He was kind of like, you know, like the Virgil van Dijk to my like goalkeeper career right there.
Well, I mean, if you've got a Virgil van Dijk in your team, then obviously you're going to be in with every chance, I think, of holding on to a major result. But, I mean, we witnessed also, you've been putting in so much work behind the scenes in developing this new sim room of yours. I've witnessed, obviously, on social media, these new reaction lights you have installed. Have they worked? Do you think they've made a difference?
You bet they work. Look at my star, bro. I got away, shabam, shaboom, overtake. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom. Actually, 7 people. And there we go. P1 after that, right? The reactions were, you know, I got a bit tired. So, like...
You had to take a nap halfway through.
Exactly. Maybe I need to do a little bit more of the reaction lights, like endurance-wise. Not just like 5 seconds, but boom, go like full 2 minutes or something. But I guess I'll work on that for the next one.
Well, we look forward to seeing you revolutionising the world of the F1 Creator Series, obviously. Hey, Tom, do you have a question for Tom as well?
I mean...
Tom, wait,
everything was...
I have a question for you.
Okay, we'll go with that.
How majestic was that race win, my guy?
It was beautiful. I actually said it before you came in. I thought the racecraft was 100% perfect. I only want to draw on the... It's not even a negative because you still won the race, but that little bit of contact between yourself and Ben on the penultimate lap, just from your point of view, what happened?
Ben shunted me.
Simple, straight to the point. I love it.
Listen, tomorrow, 2-player career co-op. It's going to be fire. It's going to be fire. It's going to be explosions.
Well, but you don't want to miss it, folks. You want to tune into something like that, I tell you. I want to ask you, Tom, about the wild card we got for tonight. How are you feeling ahead of this wild card?
No, not great. You know what? I'm giving it to Ben because Ben always runs out of fuel, or at least he always goes like minimum fuel anyway. I think Ben is going to win this race. I'm tipping him to win this race. That's my prediction.
Does the motion rig drink it? Does the motion rig drink it? Does it?
Well, I have a bottle now of water in my cockpit, but it's starting to fall off with all the vibrations. So I don't think.
Hey, whoa! You're not gonna have a Lewis Hamilton Ferrari engineer moment by any chance.
We're gonna add that to the dictionary. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Hey, Tom, congratulations! What a result, my friend. Sprint race victor for the first time in your history in the Creator Series. We wish you all the very best in quali.
Thank you. Let's see.
We'll wait and see. Thank you very much, Tom, everyone. I mean, obviously, ever the more jovial Tom, isn't he, Tom? Incredible human being. And obviously, coming off the back of that sprint race victor, 8 points in his back pocket. And obviously, that's going to go a huge way into his championship.
100%. Helps Alpine out a little bit as well, with Razin having a few dodgy weeks, not all down to his own doing. But I think the biggest problem with Tom is, for people like us, we're going to get sore cheeks every time we talk to him because we've got such broad smiles every time he opens his mouth.
He's such a character, I must say, and obviously a big part of the Alpine group as well. Obviously, we've got drivers. We're going to have a look at very quickly at the Drivers' Championship standings as well, based off the back of that sprint race. Tim Marduk on 185 points. We alluded to the fact that the points gap had enlarged off the back of his second place, ahead of Formula Karim as well, who's on 169 now in second place. A poor sprint for GB68, just could not quite get anything going. He still remains, though, 4 points ahead of Meraki, but keenly enough, it's obviously what's going on in front of him I think that he'll be a little bit more concerned about. Alex Gillen now level on points with Meraki, entering the fight now in the top 5. Rasin Chai down in 6, level on points with Lolin Ober on 117. We've got Noiguera level with that guy Vince on 67. Ricky 03 in 10th. Formula Kai on 55. Zafso in 12th on 47. 4 points apart from Infratic down in 13th. Nick Flies in 14th on 34. 1 point ahead of Adam Sanderson, who is not here tonight. And Matati in 16th. Hayden Gullis in 17th. Tom down in 18th. Those sprint race points drifting him higher and higher ahead of Scott Taylor, who's down in 19th on 20 points. And Grid Jokes still sits in 20th in the championship. Obviously, we can look ahead as well to the team standings of all things as well. And obviously, once again, a big fight at the very top, as you can see. Mercedes still in control. Like I said, though, Adam Sanderson not here this evening, so it's all down to Tim Marduk to hustle in the points. Aston Martin, they are one driver short as well. That guy Vince not taking part tonight. They are currently in second. There is still, though, a very close gap between the front two. McLaren still there. They're in third place on 204. Visa Cash App RB on 197. Alpine in fifth. Now that they have Tom and Rasin Chai at their disposal, they could be a major threat tonight. Red Bull in 6th as well on 158. Haas down in 7th on 137. Ferrari in 8th on 126. Williams on 93 in 9th. And Sauber in 10th place on 64. It's all to play for, Tom.
I think the best thing is, Drivers' Championship, we've still realistically got 5 drivers that could win it. Only 35 points between Tim Marduk and Alex Gillen. You know, if Ben has a bit of a shocker in the next couple of weeks and somebody like Gillen or Meraki wins the race, that's just slashed completely. And the constructors as well, 4 teams realistically in and around, maybe Alpine if they can get their act together, if Tom stays around, if Razin tries to pick himself up and gets that form back that we saw in the early stages. Could be 5 constructors in it as well.
Yeah, and obviously looking at previous results here, we haven't yet had anyone go on to win twice around this circuit. We've only ever had one-time race winners around the circuit. We alluded obviously to Alex Gillen being the only driver on the grid. Really, there's one before. Obviously, prior winners include Elray Geary, Tom 97, M Sky Z, Alex Gillen winning it all the way back in season 1. We've come a long way since then, and naturally we've got other big players that we need to factor in that could yet take it away. So, I mean, what could this mean for the championship?
It's a huge opportunity for someone. Obviously, this is one of the rare tracks that Tim Marduk hasn't won at before. He has got a couple of podiums, though. Finished second to Alex Gillen in that very first race. Picked another one up in the preceding 8 seasons. Qualifying's not been the best for him. Hasn't started higher than 4th, but he has qualified there a couple of times. So there's a potential weakness, but he's done a very decent job in the sprint race. Got a decent haul of points. Pace looks strong as well, considering he had a little bit, albeit light, front wing damage. So I think all looking good for Ben. Formula Karim, we didn't necessarily see his outright pace, maybe just because he was quite calm, quite collected, battling his way through. But I'm expecting a Formula Cream pole similar to what we saw in Kota, a bit of a gap between himself and everybody else.
Yeah, obviously he'll be looking to come into this tonight. Be looking to try and answer back to Benjamin Daly off the back of the sprint race. And obviously we need to talk also about the social media impact we have had here at the Creator Series as well. And those of you that are tuned in, please make sure you check out the socials at F1 Creator Series on Twitter, Instagram, and also TikTok, where we are live here tonight. So ensure to stay up to date with everything Creator Series, and join us as well if you want to on YouTube or even Twitch, where you can also join all the live streams. Hit those follow buttons if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe That's what we want to see. We post reels non-stop as well, so make sure you support those. Check those out. Plenty of entertainment for you guys to witness with some of your favorite creators here in the F1 Creator Series, and they'll all be looking to win now as we look ahead to qualifying. But looking ahead, obviously the times that we're looking at, around a 1:30.4. That was the last one that was set by GB back in Season 8 last season. Prior to that, Noiguera with a 1:30.189, and the fastest we've seen so far was MSkyZ's 1:30.062. So we're very much expecting the pole lap to be around that mark, Tom.
Yeah, we should see a bit of an improvement on last season because we had a little bit of weather getting involved. I don't think it was perfect conditions by the time we got to qualifying 3. Will we see somebody comfortably in the 29s? I'd like to think so, but anything up for debate. We might see a bit of weather. We don't know just yet.
No, not at all. And obviously plenty of other players that have come in recently this season. I want to talk about as well drivers that have not necessarily pulled their finger out, shall we say, in terms of going from lights to flag. Formula Karim, whilst of course historically he has been a vibrant talent on the Creator Series grid, he has got an incredible pole record this season. Obviously we alluded to the fact that he did take pole at Texas for the very first round, but since then he has done round 7, notched it on pole in Britain, did the same back at Australia as well. But there's been a couple of misses as well. We look at Tim at Marduk, Victor at Texas, and then of course he took it at Britain as well, whilst Karim was on pole. Do you think the main mishap that Karim has had, he hasn't been able to convert that immense pole strike rate into race win success?
It's almost like the Charles Leclerc record, isn't it? So many poles, amazing over one lap, and it just doesn't quite come together over a race distance. I think there are 2 factors, really. One of them, he's been very unlucky at times. Remember back to Kota with the safety car incident, had some other times where he hasn't had the rub of the green. But also, I think there is just that little bit of lack in experience compared to, the old timers. I hate to use that word, but Alex Gillen, Tim McMullen, they've been around since the very start. Razin Chai as well, very experienced in the Creator Series. So I think Karim is still learning just how to be really efficient in his overtakes, in his racecraft. He's very good at it already, but naturally because he has only been around for probably a season now, because he came into the fray sort of halfway through Season 8, there is still a learning curve that he has to try and go on.
Yeah, certainly is. Zafso now out on track. Of course, Season 1 champion, the OG champion here in the EA Sports F1 Creator Series. Carries a reasonable record as well, a total points collection of 831. Still a little bit shy from the 1,000 mark. There is PS1 Hagrid as we speak. Aviators on as he now takes a trip onto the grass. Might need to untint those just ever so slightly in order to get the visibility. Daddy Hagrid, as he is known here in the EA Sports F1 Creator Series. 2 wins prior in his Creator Series history, 10 podiums to his name, not to mention that World Drivers' Championship and 2 Constructors' Championships as well. And you'd expect with a combination of him and of course Alex Gillen that RB would be a major threat to the team cycle this season.
You'd think so, but Zafso hasn't had a great couple of weeks. This certainly hasn't been his best season by a long shot. The pace at times has been there, but there have been a few weekends where he's been just that little bit off what we would normally expect of the Season 1 champion. This is a fairly decent circuit for Zafso. Qualified 6th before, best finish of 7th, so an average sort of finishing position in qualifying for him. If he can replicate that, I think that'll go a long way to RB's championship charge.
It definitely could. Of course, Zafso coming into this round, he's currently 12th in the championship. Has got 47 points against his name, still fair ways off the top spot currently being held by Tiamat Marduk, especially after he came second in the sprint. As now we watch Zafso make his way around turn 1, and we'll keep our eyes peeled on the sector times as they roll in as well, folks. He makes his way out of turn 1 through turn 2 and now in towards turn 3. You need to manage your throttle application as best you can. Be careful not to get onto that curb on the right hand side, but you can take a little bit more of this one as he now stretches down through towards turn 4. A very dogged right-hander of sorts, a hairpin coming out of turn 6 and then down through towards turn 7, the in-swinger. Of course, very fast pace. You can leave your foot relatively planted at this portion of track. Of course, they're getting allows for that as you now make your way in towards turn 8 as well, doubling back and then straight in towards another left-hander coming in towards turns 9 and then later turns 10. You've got then another semi-straight which will lead you through in towards sector 3. Let's take a look at the team radio from Tiamat Marduk. We have to try and keep these inters cool. Now remember, folks, if you're new here at the EA Sports F1 Creator Series, a reminder that of course we do have the intermediate tyre poll to decide, which is why we're seeing the intermediate tyres banded onto the cars, and there is 1 point available if you do take Inter's poll, and of course that will be decided just prior to the end of, well, coming into the 12th minute of qualifying, with 12 minutes to go, I should say, as we now watch as Zafso breaks down into the hairpin coming out of turn 14. First sector time was a 24.9. He's not purple in any of the sectors so far. He's had them taken away from the man in P15, one of them being Riccio3, the other being Infratic, down at the very bottom of your timing screen. Zafso sets a 1:34, and then Rasin Chai to the top goes purple in that final sector with a 1:33. 691, but it's purple currently so far for Riccio3 in the middle sector and Fabio purple in the first sector so far here at the moment, Tom.
Yeah, we're seeing a bit of a spread, aren't we, as Infratic getting caught up there behind the Williams. Not sure which one it is, but on a decent lap so far, not on the intermediates though, so obviously trying to burn through all of his red strap soft tyres. That is the worst place alongside turn 1 to invalidate your lap. Absolutely criminal from Fabio, just running slightly wide through the final corner, maybe just caught out a little bit by Ricky, who does set the fastest time on those red stripe softs. And yes, the driver in the Scarlet Red Ferrari car will be a little bit red-faced by that, I imagine.
I would imagine so too. Riccio3, a 1:31, 6:11, not even bothering to go out on those inters. Fastest inters time still belongs to Rasin Chai. We're watching GB68 make his way around. He's on inters as well. 24.6 in the first sector, met with a 28.5 in sector 2. That is approximately 2/10 slower than Timet Marduk, who currently sits third in the timing screen. Zafsu now relegated down to fourth. F1 Alex, fifth fastest. Here comes GB68 up towards the line. DRS open for him. He goes fourth fastest, 2.5 seconds off the top. Remember, all those on intermediate tyres. How are you guys so quick on intermediates, asked Tom. He can't believe it. He can't quite believe it. Sat in his simulator rig as we now watch Meraki head down towards turn 14.
And while that was going on, Formula Kareem, with about 40 seconds to go, has just stolen it away from Rasin Chai by 0.04 of a second. Very sneaky there from the Papaya McLaren car. Meraki used to be the king of the intermediate pole times. What is that Red Bull going to do? Slots into third, make that second on intermediates. The top three covered by 0.04 of a second on the intermediate tyres. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that is absolutely stunning there from Meraki. And popping himself into third place. We've already got more movement in the pit lane. Rasin Chai coming into the box to have a rethink. Nick Flies, who was very impressive in the sprint race last time out, back out again on track. He, of course, clinching one solitary point, which is hard to believe, especially considering what he was doing up at the very front, really hassling the front end with the two Alpines, but now has since dropped down ever so slightly. He is down in 17th at the moment in the classification on his flying lap, his first of the session, and getting a nice useful tow off the McLaren in front belonging to Formula Karim. So they have really planned this to the hilt, though they would have probably preferred to offer the tow down this very long straight where they could have utilised some of the slipstream and at the same time the DRS that opens up. Team radio from GB68. I was just trying to get... I'm not saying that. So we now watch them make their way down through towards turn 14. It is Nick Flies who is looking to extend once more. 24.1 is a decent first sector time, faster than Rasin Chai in that first sector, but bear in mind Chai is on intermediates and Flies is on soft. So 27.4 though in that middle sector, a second faster, goes fastest of anybody, gone faster than Riccio3, who set his time on soft tyres. Nick Flies going purple in that final sector. Zafso still remains in 9th place, and he's on fresh softs. Rasin on softs about to go out as well. And the Inters poll has been decided, of course. It's gone Formula Karim's way.
1 point going into the direction of Woking and McLaren, with Formula Karim just getting that ever bit closer, pulling back towards Tim at 15 points now. I think that gap is. Nick Flies, though, looking really hooked up. This is probably the most competitive we've seen from Nick Flies so far this season, I would go to say. Up in first at the moment, albeit only 2 times on the red stripe softs. I think he'll potentially be gunning for a top 10 qualifying position, which I don't believe he has done particularly often.
No, it's not a typical position for Lolin Ober. He's actually had some extraordinary results in places. Like we said before, a winner back at Miami. That's been his only victory to date so far in the double header that we had around that American circuit. Of course, he has got a sprint race win under his belt though, however. So he does have form. Has currently registered around 12 top 10s in his history. Still not yet achieved a pole position. Nick Flies currently holding on to provisional pole as it stands, but we only have 9 minutes and 50 or so to go. One of the few Italians who actually loves pineapple on his pizza, Forza Ananas for Lolin Ober. He, of course, a very passionate Italian and a firm favourite here in the Creator Series. Goes fastest overall as well with a 1:30.455. Purple in all 3 sectors for the Haas, and Lolin Ober looking to usher his name on pole position for the first time in his Creator Series career, but many others are improving. We welcome Blue Fox into quali in the Creator Series for the first time as well. Has gone with a 24.053 in that first sector, a 27.4 in the middle sector. Not quite as fast as Lolinoba, a couple of tenths off in the first sector. That middle sector, though, is around the mark of where Riccio3 is. Lolly just beat my time by a mile, says Nick Flies. He is certainly quick, as we now watch as Blue Fox makes his way down through towards turn 14, opening up the throttle yet again in the Scuderia Ferrari. It looks like Formula Kai is having some serious issues. He's out of the session, obviously, unable to take the car here in this qualifying session. As we now watch Blue Fox makes his way up towards the line, goes third fastest, goes faster than Riccio3. He was around the mark in the middle sector, but excelled in that crucial final sector as well.
Yeah, very tight just behind Lolinoba. Obviously, a yawning chasm between first and second currently, although I think Razin Chai has something to say about that. Decent track for Lolinoba, it has to be said, and this was probably the first time that we really saw the true pace of Lolly last season. Qualifying in 7th, finishing the race in 5th, was very much in the ballpark trying to get onto the podium. Razin Chai, 8 wins for him out of 84 starts. A decent number of pole positions to go with that as well, as Safso, Season 1 champion, jumps up into second place, although still 3/4 of a second down on Lolly's time. Round the final corner we go with the Alpine Season 5 champion. Does he take over at the top? Yes, he does. 1:30.2, puts 2/10 of a second between himself and Lolinoba. We are inching towards that 1:29 time.
Yeah, Hans as well, double-barreled in second and third. They've got Scott Taylor now, who's ushered his way to within 0.8 of a second. It's currently 777 in behind Razin Chai, but Alpine enter another car into the top 5 as well. Make that the top 3, with Tom now third in this classification. A welcome return for him after winning the sprint race. He's got his teammates up at the very top of the tree. Razin Chai, who's looking to make it, he's got the best poles record in the series. He could make it 16 come the close of this session. We've got 7 minutes and 30 to go. Alex Gillen making his way around the circuit, coming around turn 7, turn 8 to come as well. Alex Gillen also with an impressive 1-lap record as well, but also carries a decent number of race wins to his name as well. 21 in total in the A Sports F1 Creator Series. If you want to know his poles record, 6 poles in his history, but 34 podiums to match and 54 top 10s. He's got 1 Drivers' Championship to his name, and now looking to chase another in this current championship phase. He is 5th in the title race and looking to close the gap, and a win here at China could make all the difference. We are coming into the final 5 races of this championship, as now Gillen sprints down through towards a hairpin. It's a purple first sector as well for Meraki, who's looking to come back into this as well. Mr. Dale on an outlap as well. We're going to wait and see what Alex Gillen can usher to the table. 23.7 in that first sector. Meraki getting a toe off his teammate as well, chasing a purple final sector. Alex Gillen moves up to 6th fastest. GB now relegated to 4th. We've got Tim Marduk in 3rd. Now Lolinoba in 2nd still. He's out on an outlap again, but we all watch Meraki. Purple in that first sector, 27.2 in the middle sector as well. Coming around the final corner, can he go faster again? Can he usurp Razin Chai? No, only enough for 3rd fastest, but within 3.5 tenths. This is getting very close.
Some very interesting goings on here. Tim Marduk and Alex Gillen were tracking very, very nicely. Ben matched Razin Chai through the first couple of sectors, but lost nearly 4 tenths in the final sector. So maybe a mistake like we saw Lando Norris do in qualifying yesterday, down into turn number 14, or potentially running very high wings and was just losing out with a very draggy car down the straight. So something to ponder, I think, for the reigning champion. Alex Gillen in a similar boat in 7th, 6 tenths off the Alpine.
Yeah, personal bests as well in the first and second sector for Formula Karim. He still remains at the back with the running cars. Mr. Dale has retired early on in this qualifying session. 5 minutes and 30 to go. So that's 2 retirements we now have here at this moment in time prior to the very end of quali. Still time though for final runs and a few cars out on outlaps, but Formula Karim, one of the improvers out there on track. Team radio coming in from Tim Marduk. I need not again. Goodness me. I tell you what, these drivers, you need to have a word with them. Maybe start imposing fines. I mean, everyone else is doing it, I suppose. As we now watch them make their way out onto the track. Oh my goodness, a 5-place grid penalty for Alex Gillen. A collision with GB, Tom.
Well, yeah, you could just see a group of 3 cars stop going through turn 14. The other Aston Martin of Blackley was involved as well. And that is not going to be music to the ears of Alex Gillen, who's not in a particularly good spot anyway in 8th place, 6 tenths off the outright benchmark set by Razin. Formula Cream just getting within 2 tenths of it, but now at risk of potentially starting outside the top 10. Now, Alex Gillin has had many drives from outside the top 10, done a couple of last to first in his Creator Series career as well. But that is not going to be ideal at all on his return, of course, after he missed the race 1 week ago.
Yeah, absolutely right. Formula Karim still making his way out on track. Remember, we saw him usher in 2 personal bests in the first 2 sectors. Well, he's just gone second fastest, just in behind Racine Chai, within 0.2 of a second of the Alpine. So he'll be happy with that. At this moment in time, he will join Racine Chai on the front row. Like we said, Racine Chai with one of the most impressive pole records that you will see in the Creator Series. It could be 16 should the clock turn to 0 and things remain the same. Lolinoba third, and will start on the second row should it stay like this, with Meraki alongside him too. We got Nick Flies looking to make his way around the track. Still plenty of cars in the pits and maybe looking to go out for one last chance to dance. There's the 2 McLarens, Formula Karim, as we now watch him currently make his way down the straight. The 2 McLarens are actually manacled together. Nick Flies perhaps also looking for a cheeky toe as well. Team radio coming in from Alex Gillin. I was there, he said. Formula Karim running wide to allow Nick Flies. He was certainly there in the sprint race. Nick Flies now looking to try and move his way up the classification, coming around the final corner with the helpful hand from his teammate Formula Karim as he comes up towards the line. 11th fastest for Nick Flies, and just over 8.5 tenths off at the top, just outside the top 10.
Papaya rules done right there, I think it is fair to say. Very close to Scott Taylor's time, just under 1/10 of a second, slotting just ahead of Ricky 03. As he invalidates there. Doing a little bit of lawn mowing on the inside. It's going to be touch and go to see whether Nick Flies does want to get back around to go once more in this session. Sasso up by a couple of tenths through the first couple of sectors. Needs to find a little bit more, though, tracking to potentially usurp his teammate Alex Gillin up into 8th position. Yeah,
no, absolutely right. Sasso making his way out of turn 14. Through turn 15, turn 16 once more. 2 minutes and 40 still to go. Cutter Lucas has gone out for an outlap, as has F1 Alex, to try and lift himself from P17. Sasso jumps 1 spot, moves up to P12, and now might have to reassess. Maybe he'll try and fuel save for at least one last chance at breaking into that top 10. But it's 12 for now, and now more and more cars are leaving the pit lane. Here comes Blue Fox. He's currently 18th now, but looking to set sail on yet another flying lap. GB68. The whole lobby is waiting for Karim to get a toe. My goodness, they're all chasing toes down that back straight. So obviously, a lot of them testing the patience of the Creator Series stewards, who may not necessarily look fondly upon some of the towing techniques that we're seeing out on track so far.
Chasing toes, but at the moment they're still chasing the tail of Racine Chai, who has got that nice little buffer, and I wonder if he did get a little bit of a slipstream on his flying lap, because he's comfortably quicker than most of his rivals in that final sector. Only Lolinoba has got within a couple of tenths, I believe, of anybody inside the top 6. So Razin potentially helped out by that. His middle sector, though, was very strong as well, so definitely do not take that away from him. A little bit of traffic here, potentially for Blue Fox, maybe getting distracted by this Aston Martin into the braking zone. I'm not sure which one it is, going slightly wide, still in front of them, now pulling out of the way, so there won't be a cheeky slipstream for the Ferrari.
No, not at all. But we got every car that is still in the session now, either out on an out lap, or as I said, that Nick Flies comes into the pits. But the rest currently on laps as we wait to see who's going to improve and who doesn't. Nick Flies obviously invalidating that previous run. It looked like it might have been his in-lap anyway. He retires from the session. He will remain in P11 or worse here so far, but with the flurry of cars that are still out on track that will have optimal conditions. It's currently 16 degrees in the air, 19 degrees in the air, I should say. Cars on track currently sat at 16, 26 degrees track temperature as we now watch Blue Fox make his way uphill through towards turn 1. A very quite the variable in terms of elevation here around China. Of course, the Shanghai International Circuit, you reach uphill, coming through turn 1 towards turn 2, and then straight back down again, coming in towards turn 3. And it starts to flatten off, heading in through sector 2, down through towards sector 3 once more, as we now watch Cutter Lucas in 14th place, looking to get teed up for yet another fast run. Sasso retiring from the session will remain 12th for now. Ricky 03 chasing bigger deltas as well. He's in sector 2 for now. Can he improve? Meraki also on an outlap. I get the feeling we're going to see a firecracker finish here. Will Racine remain at the head of the order as well when the timer ticks to 0 and the checkered flag comes out?
Well, somebody trying to steal a march. Tom with a very competitive middle sector, up by a quarter of a second. Could jump him up a few places. Or needs to have an absolutely rapid final sector to challenge his teammate, who still holds provisional pole. Interestingly enough, Blue Fox actually set the fastest final sector on that previous unsuccessful lap. So he will be picking up the wooden spoon, but certainly not doing himself a disservice. Only 1.2 seconds of the benchmark time. Look at how close Creator Series is in 2025. You love to see it. The winner of the sprint, navigating the final couple of corners. Got to keep it within track limits. We saw Emphatic fall foul of that. Scott Taylor up into 5th. That, I apologise, Tom, because that is a perfect example. Vintage commentator's curse. And that is 8th at best for the Season 3 champ.
Yeah, difficult moment for Tom, who was on a personal improvement. Tim Marduk, incidentally, went purple in the first sector and looking to improve once again. And now heading down in towards the final few corners. Turn 14 and is getting, I would say, probably a useful rub from the Alpine of Racing Chai further up, who's also looking to improve as well. Now, keep your eyes on the prize. A little twitch of the rear there for Racing Chai as he makes his way up towards the line, improves. Tim Marduk moves into first place. GB up into 3rd as well. The Mercedes, the championship leader, has stolen it from Racing Chai for now. Alex Gillen moves up to 3rd fastest. Formula Karim in the McLaren moves up to P1 this time and breaks into the 129s, and that is the first time we have seen it. Meraki up in a 2nd as well, and that's all she wrote. Formula Karim with the fastest qualifying lap we have seen here at China in the EA Sports F1 Creator Series. The first time we have seen a 129, the only driver to do a 129 here in this very session, a 129.975 to take pole position here for the Chinese Grand Prix. Tim Marduk, his title rival, in 2nd place and current championship leader, with Racing Chai in 3rd as well. Alex Gillen entering the fold and will be there just ahead of GB. Meraki in 6th, Lolin Ober in 7th, Infratic in 8th, Scott Taylor in 9th, 10th place for Tom as well. We got Matty D13 on 11th and Ricky 03 in 12th. We got Nick Flies 13th, Zafso in 14th place. Cutter Lucas then further down. Of course, we'll run through the rest of the order when the starting grid becomes available. But there we have it, folks. What an extraordinary qualifying session that certainly was. We all enjoyed that one. A huge battle across the field. That crescendo, the one we were waiting for, that big crescendo right at the very end. Things wouldn't seem right, though, if we didn't check in with our one, the only TK. TK Clips, are you there?
I certainly am indeed. It's been a fascinating qualifying session. There's not much on my screen at the moment, apart from everybody's point of views, but you can enjoy them temporarily. It's been fascinating. Lots of discussions about toes, and obviously something you've alluded to, of that long back straight is going to be absolutely critical as we head into a race situation. Everybody wanting to basically follow someone through for the qualifying session. Nobody wanted to lead. And then Karim, coming out of absolutely nowhere, didn't get a toe, but put in an absolutely blinding lap, a 29.9 to take pole position here for this afternoon's race. And that, at the end of the day, starts him at the best position on the field.
Yeah, it certainly does. Tom, thank you so much for that, TK. Obviously, yes, you're absolutely spot on. That was indeed our best lap that we have seen in the Creator Series around the China circuit. The first time we've seen a 129, Tom Wilkinson. That's extraordinary.
I was waiting for it. We got it right at the last gasp, waiting for that 29. We almost oversold it a little. It was like, oh, right at the start. Should we get a 29? I think somebody's going to get in there. Tim Marduk missed it by 2 milliseconds. And then
he did.
Kareem,
So
and he
close.
said Ben. Kareem right at the end, smashing it into the 29s. I'm surprised the gap was as close as it was, though, because he seemed pretty happy with his lap, 29.9. Didn't get a toe, so maybe that could contribute a little bit to why he was slightly down on maybe what we were expecting. But Ben will be getting a lot of confidence from that, because qualifying isn't necessarily his strong suit. Doesn't have a lot of pole positions. Usually starts from sort of 4th, 5th, 6th place and then works his way through very efficiently.
And likewise, it's not really the best of records for Karim to start from pole to eventually gain victory. So once again, this could very easily fall into the hands of Tim Marduk again, who seems to have a great record of taking pole positions from Karim and turning them into race victories for himself. But, I mean, obviously, what a tremendous effort. 5th pole of his Creator Series career. Incredible job from Karim. But we've got to keep our eyes on that front row, because obviously Tim Marduk being there as well, he's going to be fighting him at every turn, Tom.
Yes, but I think Ben, knowing that he's in a very decent position, he's got Kareem just in front of him. He's got his eyes locked on the back of that Papaya McLaren. Kareem, of course, taking Ben's seat that he vacated to head off to Mercedes. I think we might see maybe a slightly more passive version of Tim Marlett. Very happy just to let the race pass him by, not take any unnecessary or undue risks. Be careful of the likes of GB or Alex Gillen or Razin Chai behind him, but just keep his eyes firmly focused on Formula Kareem and bank as many points as possible just to continue that championship push.
Yeah, absolutely right. So obviously some big players further down as well. Alex Gillen coming into the fold. Great lap as well from Scott Taylor as well initially just prior to the end to jump right up into that top 10. I know you saw it as well. It took us all off guard, I think, coming into the final phase of qualifying. Big result. What can that do for him? Obviously, Haas are fairly competitive. They got a brilliant Italian in Lolinoba who has proven to also be a race winner and also take countless podiums, top 10s, you name it. He's been there, he's done it. If he gets a clear run, he can be dangerous.
100%. We always see flashes of the true Scott Taylor performance. Started on the front row a couple of seasons ago in Brazil, let's not forget. So if he can try and just string together and piece together a race, maybe again, similar to Kareem, a little bit lacking in experience in this level of the Creator Series, that'll give him a good amount of confidence. Infratic as well, been really solid over the last few weeks. He starts from position number 8. I think he'll be very delighted with that performance also. And then Lolinoba as well, starting from 7th. He's always becoming Mr. Consistent, isn't he, Lolly?
He certainly is. Give us your predictions as well, folks, there in the live chat. Lots of you have been getting involved. Big shout out to Formula Yoshi on Twitch, actually coming out with Blue Fox Army. It's great to see Blue Fox here and all his fans coming here to watch him as well. We want to hear from you guys, though, in the chats. Keep him lit up, whether you're watching wherever you are, on Twitch, YouTube, even on TikTok for the very first time. And be sure to leave a follow if you haven't done so already. And check out the Creator Series at F1 Creator Series on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. You can find it all there. And we post reels on the regular as well. Looking across the rest of the order as well, credit has to go as well to our Interspol winner, Formula Kareem. More points going his way, Tom. And these little points, whilst obviously they don't necessarily compare to, 25 points for a race win, for example, when you come towards the dire stages of a season, it's those little moments, those little one-pointers that could make all the difference.
Yeah, you've got to keep racking them up. We saw Season 5, Season 6, some of the closest championship battles that we've ever seen in the Creator Series decided by just a couple of points. So every point makes a difference. You can't throw a result away if, lose your head a little bit. You find yourself down in P9 or P10. Oh, it's only 5 or 6 points. Not that worth it. I'm just going to do something silly, throw it in a wall maybe to try and help somebody out in previous races. Every point counts. And I think that's also a testament to how competitive the Creator Series is now.
Yeah, and obviously GB coming back in the fold, had a very good late lap here in quali. Didn't have the best of sprint races. This is the ideal point where he can obviously bounce back here, Tom. He's going to be starting on the second row of the grid. He looks strong. Looking at prior results, he's obviously come in with a good run this season. 3 wins so far in his career, but taking 2 of his wins this season, which could mean absolutely everything. And, if he starts, sort of bundling up these results, maintaining the confidence, keeping the momentum in his favour, he could be online to taking a 4th of all time and 3rd win of the season.
100%. I think the biggest compliment we can give to GB is the fact that he had a very quiet sprint race, and we're pointing it out because we expect somebody like GB now to be fighting for top 5s at worst, podiums and race wins. He's now shown he's got the calibre and he's got the potential to do so. Championships indeed, 3rd in the championship. So I think that'll spur him on. Did a decent job to recover. He wasn't in a brilliant position going into the final runs, but ever the cool, calm and collected head, Mr. GB, getting that decent lap on the board and putting himself back where he should be.
Yeah, and obviously Aston Martin, back-to-back Constructors Champions in the last 2 seasons, of course, alongside his teammate, that guy Vince, this season, who isn't actually here tonight. Of course, Blackmere stepping in place of that guy Vince. But also we've had changes. We alluded to Blue Fox stepping in. Obviously, his first appearance here. Always tough when you're the newbie, Tom, coming into a grid like this that is seasoned and are racing week in, week out. Obviously, Blue Fox, right at the last moment, he was given the call-up, coming in to replace Noiguera. We credit him for that. Obviously, though, coming up against those seasoned campaigners, it's going to be tricky. Starting 18th on the grid, how do you think he'll fare?
I think from what we saw in qualifying, he'll do really well. I think he should be very pleased with his performance. Yes, he qualified slowest, a second and a half off the pace. But if you look at how close it was and considering how late the call-up was, I think he's done himself a very, very decent job and should take a lot of pride out of that. And realistically, he's only going to get quicker as he becomes more acclimatized, hasn't been able to practice like some of the other drivers have been able to do. Whether he can adapt to the wild card that we've got with the minimum fuel, that's another question to be asked. But pace-wise, I think it was really, really impressive considering how late he came in.
And also with Fabio being in the top 10 as well, chasing big points. Obviously, he's had a fair, top 10 record, 32 to date, chasing his 33rd. That elusive race win is still a little bit out of reach at the moment. Only has one podium to his name. Do you think there's going to be a sense of frustration going to be kicking in for the Portuguese? Because we know what he's capable of, and he has put a lot of work into his game over recent seasons.
I don't think there'll be frustration yet, because I think there's still a journey to go on with Fabio, but I do think this is the best version of Infratic that we have ever seen in the Creator Series. The consistency was always the problem. I think he's just starting to get that. We gave him Driver of the Day a couple of weeks ago, has been solid for a number of weeks now. If he can just continue to do that, rack up the points, gain the confidence, which can sometimes beat him down. He's a little bit of a confidence player, like you see in football or cricket, for example. If that's sky high, he's a very dangerous horse.
Or maybe we can see him like his fellow countryman, Cristiano Ronaldo, pull off a mighty Sue come the end of the race. We'll wait and see. But obviously, Meraki, another one to watch. One of the highest point scorers of all time in the Creator Series, also with 1,332 as well. We will be taking a look at the starting grid now very shortly as well, folks, ahead of the next race. Obviously, we'll keep you posted as to when that comes available. We'll check out the standings, though, prior to us getting into racing action. Just to give you guys an update as to how the campaign looks. TMM Malik on 185, 15 points ahead of Formula Karim, who sits in second for McLaren. That points gap still so tight. One win can change it all, with GB68 sat in third as well for Aston Martin. We've got Meraki, who could do with a really big result. He's level on points with Alex Gillen. Both those two coming into the top end for this race here at China. We'll soon see whether they can contest for that race win. Rasin Chai, ever the consistent driver for Alpine, of course, carries that huge pole record. Of course, not pole though this time, despite holding on to top spot for a considerable portion of that qualifying session. He's level on points with Lolinoba right now on 117. Noiguera in 8th place on 67, met with that guy Vince on the same level of points, both of whom aren't featured tonight. Ricky O3 in 10th place on 65. He could leapfrog them both coming off the back of tonight's race, should he score the points necessary. Formula Kai in 11th as well, had his problems in qualifying. Technical issues seemed to phase the Sauber driver. We got Zavso in 12th on 47. Infratic in 13th. Remember, starting in the top 10 could also leapfrog the odd driver here or there. We then have Nick Flies further down, improving all the time is Nick Flies. Keep your eyes peeled on him throughout the course of the race. Adam Sanderson also not here. He's going to be at the mercy of cars further back as well, with Tom marking a reappearance. He could leapfrog Matati and Hayden Gullis. Matati on 31, Gullis on 28 in 17th. Tom currently sat in 18th. Scott Taylor in 19th place on 20th, and Grid Jokes then further back in 20th himself. So that's the view on the driver standings. We can, of course, look onwards at the constructors. We'll give you guys a view on the teams championship to see how that looks out. We've got Mercedes and Aston Martin 1 and 2. Still very narrow are the points right now. 8 points between them. We've got McLaren in third as well on 204. They are 20 points behind Aston Martin. Visa Catch-Up RB in fourth place on 197. Alpine in fifth on 169. Red Bull in sixth place on 158, with Haas on 137 in seventh place. Ferrari in eighth on 126, and Williams in ninth on 93, and Sauber with lots of work to do in 10th place on 64 points. But there we go. Already we're feeling the tension. It's palpable here ahead of this Chinese Grand Prix. We're going to be heading to the Shanghai International Circuit very shortly. But first and foremost, we're going to bring in TK and, of course, Tom Wilkinson back in. We're going to have a three-way podcasty conversation. Tom, obviously we were discussing, I'm going to say TK because you're both called Tom. TK, obviously looking ahead to this race here, we've been looking at the permutations. And I have to say, we've had championships in the past, haven't we, in the Creator Series that have been probably close between maybe one, maybe two drivers. Or maybe even three on the odd occasion, but it just feels with this season that we are entering multiple candidates into the fold, and I must say, with only a certain number of races to go, we could arrive at the final round with, maybe even 5 or 6 candidates.
Absolutely right. We're at that stage of the game now. Drivers are well accustomed to the physics, they're well accustomed to how the game as a whole is handling, but also I think you've all had a season where drivers have developed, they've come in, worked as a whole, and the friendliness on the field is actually something that I will commend over the course of this season and last. It's been very friendly. Everyone's helping each other out, and even that's what's pulled the gap together with everybody. It's been a camaraderie ship that the entire field is sharing.
Yeah, no, I think so. It's certainly very tight. I'm going to have to leave you guys now because there's only one thing we have to do. It's the starting grid. Let's take a little look We head to the Shanghai International Circuit for the Chinese Grand Prix here in the EA Sports F1 Creator Series. From the bottom to the top, we'll take you through the grid. Mr. Dale J.E. starts from 20th place. Both he and Formula Kai retiring in qualifying. Kai starting in 19th. 18th place for SS Blue Fox. He has been brought in to replace Noiguera. F1 Alex, a very difficult session for him once again, starts from 17th. 16th for Blackmere, who is coming in for Dak Guy Vince. He's joined by Cutter Lucas, who comes in to replace Adam Sanderson. Then we have 14th PS1 Hagrid back again. Safso, ever the dependable in the RB, in the Aviators, with Nick Flies after impressive showing of pace in the sprint. Can he do something this time? Ricky 03 starts P12 for Williams, alongside also Matty D13 coming in as a replacement for Hayden Gullis at Williams as well. It's an all Williams 11th and 12th. Inside the top 10, our sprint race winner Tom achieving a P10 start alongside Alex Gillen in 9th place. We move up to 8th as well. Scott Taylor, what a thunderous lap that was to elevate himself into the top 10 in the dying moments. He has got emphatic for company in the Ferrari, who's also looking for yet only his second podium of the season. Could be a win as well. We've got Lolin Ober in 6th place, former winner in the Creator Series back at Miami. He's going to be joined by Meraki, a former champion back in Season 4. He starts 5th. In 4th place, GB68 on one of his best season campaigns to date. He could be in line for a 3rd win, though he's got Rasin Chai alongside him, who has been impressive all weekend long. And then in the front row, we've got the 2 championship contenders. They arrive in 1st and 2nd in the championship, but it's roles reversed here on the starting grid. Timet Marduk in 2nd. He's got Formula Karim on pole position here this time for a 5th time this season. So there we have it. Those are our drivers looking ahead to Shanghai. What are your thoughts, Tom? I'm going to ask you to pump out those predictions because I know you like them. I'm not sure whether you like them, but I'm just saying you do anyway.
Always a dangerous game. Sets us up for failure, doesn't it? Formula Cream, I think, has the outright pace to win this race. Whether he can control it from the front, I don't know. Whether he can manage the fuel very well, I don't know. Tim Marduk has a lot of experience doing these low fuel strategies. If you remember back to season 1 and 2 of the Creator Series, he regularly started on minimum fuel and managed to make it work, albeit with a couple of safety cars thrown in there for good measure. So I think he's probably best shaped to try and take the win in this race and extend that championship lead. But with so many variables and so many different ways drivers could approach this minimum fuel wildcard, I think it leaves a lot up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, generally we might see some drivers who are naturally quick. By the way, folks, we want to hear from you. Get your predictions in. I can already see the commentator who mentioned earlier on as well. Hey, George, how you doing? Formula Karim for the win, he is saying. Keep them coming, everybody. We want to hear from you. I want to see those chats lit up. But yeah, I want to talk about, maybe drivers who carry that natural pace that we have seen right through from the start of the season. It's a very different kettle of fish when you're busy trying to save fuel. Do you think that will be the undoing of various drivers here in this race?
I think so. It's a double-edged sword, really. If you go too quickly, you're not going to get the fuel back come the end of the race. If you go too slowly, you leave yourself with way too much work to do come the end of the race. And once again, as we saw in the sprint, Timet Marduk and GB68 not getting off the grid and getting disqualified instantaneously. And was there a little bit of contact? Getting very sketchy here. A lot of cars battling away. Formula Cream tries to be as tentative as possible. He wants to keep those tyres in check. Interesting to see what the strategy will be as well. Obviously, we had a lobby reset, so everybody has their soft compound tyres crucially handed back to them. Top 8 starting on the softs. Alex Gillen going for the different strategy on the mediums. Tom Matty on the softs. Ricky 03 on the mediums. Nick Flies and Safso on those softs as Formula Cream taking an interesting line there. The no track limits wildcard is not what we are doing this week. And then from Cutter Lucas down, everybody on the mediums. Hard tyres banned, of course, if you are new to the EA Sports Creator Series.
Yeah, of course, no hard tyres. They don't have those at their disposal, which will Formula Karim, Tom, Timet Marduk, GB, Meraki, Formula Kai, Lolin Ober, Rasin Chai, and Infratic. They are all potentials, no doubt. Many of them featuring, of course, in that top 10. Let's take a look at Team Radio from Fabio. I'm just trying to get temperature. Stop hitting me, he is saying. Listen, I know it's tempting, everyone on the grid, but there we have it. You've got to give him a chance to race. Fabio already, though, feeling the pinch here at China at the moment, Tom.
Makes him sound so helpless. I almost feel sorry for him. Interestingly, with that disqualification, Timet Marduk is effectively sideways on the grid. I think he's almost at a 45-degree angle from his grid box. He's pointing the wrong way. He's pointing over to the left-hand side. I'm going to be fascinated to see how this goes. He's got to be very careful he doesn't clatter into Formula Cream off the start, who has also just been disqualified. So both of them going to be having tyres that represent icicle temperature as we come around the final corner with Raz and Chai. I think as we come onto the straight, we are going to get the first real shot of Tim and Marduk's troublesome parking, let's say.
Yeah, well, Formula Karim has unfortunately also been disqualified, so he'll now be automatically pushed to the front of the grid. And Matty D13 also suffering the same fate as we now watch them line up on their grid slots. Formation lap about to come to an end as we now await for the lights. But it's Formula Karim on the front row alongside fellow title contender Tiamat Marduk. Of course, still a long way to go before we can decide the championship. Rasin Chai in third on the second row, aligned with GB as well. You can just see though on the right-hand side, Tiamat Marduk aggressively pointed to the inside as we now await for this race to kick off. Meraki in 5th place, Lolin Ober as well down in 6th. You'll never know your luck. You could definitely fancy Lolin Ober for an opportunity at a stellar result here in the Creator Series. Further back also, Scott Taylor might be someone we might see at the top as well. Alex Gillen, no doubt we'll see both he and Tom fighting it up for the higher top 10 places as we now wait for the lights to go red. And here they come. 3 lights, 4 lights, and the 5th light. And it's pedal to the metal.